And we're going to do something that's been requested a number of times, and it sort of exists in a number of different pieces, but not all in one place. So we're going to download Statamic. We're going to install it without the command line, just showing you basically what happens when you install and how it works. It's actually really simple, and I think maybe sometimes people assume it's more complicated than it is. And then we'll just build something. We'll build a blog and kind of go through the steps of starting your first clean site. And I want to do it all without the command line, so you can be sure to know actually what's happening under the hood. We'll kind of peel back the magic. I won't use any of the automated stuff. We'll just do everything by hand so you can see what's happening. All right, so let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to need is a copy of Statamic. If you've never used it before, you can go to statamic.com/try. And actually, I'll open this in a private window so you can see. You fill out your email address. You get 4 emails, and then you're unsubscribed. So this does not last forever. You get 4 helpful emails, and then you get the zip file. So boom, you click download, you get the zip. Great. Okay, so the one assumption that we make with Statamic is that you have a dev environment for PHP. And that just means you have on your computer or on your server or whatever you've got, you running a new-ish version of PHP. Our Statamic version 2 requires PHP 5.5, which is pretty old. You really should be running 7, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3 just came out the other day. So there's really no excuse for a new project to be running on an old version of PHP. That being said, it'll still work. We still support it. All right, so as long as you have that working in either Apache or Nginx, you just throw the files in your web root and you're off and running. Okay, so if you haven't done that before, if this is your first time setting up a web server, I'll show you how to do that. Now, I should warn you. I don't know if a warning is the right word, but Statamic does kind of assume that you know some HTML and CSS. So if you've never done that before, and you plan on building your own site from scratch, maybe Statamic's not the right CMS for you, or maybe it's a chance to learn. And there's a lot of great places to do that, and we can share some links, and you can tweet us, and we'll point you to stuff like Team Treehouse. If you want to build your own site, Statamic's a great way to do it. Okay, so Statamic is not WordPress. It does not have 35,000 themes that do 900,000 things, and you have to just click around and turn all the crap you don't want off. Statamic starts basically from scratch and lets you build your own custom site very easily. But that's the key. You start from nothing and you build it up, and all the features kind of take that building block approach. That's Statamic. All right, so we've got the zip file downloaded, and let's start with MAMP. If you've never done web development before and you don't have PHP or don't know if you're running PHP, MAMP, I'll go to MAMP. I think it's .info. Yeah, MAMP.info. You click download, you get MAMP, you fire it up. MAMP app. MAMP Pro you have to pay for. MAMP not Pro, MAMP regular is free. You can only run one site on it, but it'll work. All right, so we're going to start our server. So assuming you've downloaded this, and I'm on a Mac, I will not cover Windows or Linux in this video, but if you want to, I can do that in a separate video. All right, so we've got MAMP running, and it will run on this localhost port 8888. Okay, so this is going to be where you install Statamic, and it will tell you your document root is application/mamp/htdocs. So if we open up our Finder, we go to Applications, we go to MAMP, we open that up, we go to htdocs. This is where you're going to want to put the Statamic files. Okay, so we can kill this stuff. And we can take Statamic, we're going to unzip it. Really kind of odd that it's taking so long. Anyway, all right, so we'll get rid of that zip and just grab all this stuff and drop it in. Doodly-doo. Great. If we refresh this, we should see Statamic run. Awesome. Okay, we are most of the way there. So you'll notice that your images are broken if you're taking this approach, and your subpages aren't going to work. Okay, now we get support requests for all this time, and there's nothing we can do to make you set up your server right besides telling you to set up your server right or set it up all the way. And what's happening is MAMP does not know what to do with these extra URL segments, and you need to turn on what's called mod rewrite if you're using Apache. So if you use MAMP Pro, it has a little button, you can check it, and it kind of just works. What you need to do if you're running MAMP regular is take this sample htaccess file and take the word sample out. Now, here's the problem. Finder, if you do this, it tells you can't because file names that start with a dot are reserved for the system. So this is part of why being a developer is kind of like our primary user for building sites, because there's a lot of these little gotchas that aren't like normal day-to-day Googlers and I don't know. I think you know what I'm saying. There's a little bit of technical knowledge that you need to pick up. All right, so one of the ways to rename this file is to open it in your Finder, like Command I, come in and do that. Oh, you can't do that? Sweet. All right, so if we open this file in our editor and we rename it, you can do that. All right, so now if we refresh, our images should load, our subpages should work. And this is basically telling the rules inside that htaccess file, specifically this one and this one right here, say all of the URLs that come after, pass them all through this index.php file. And so then that lets the application run Statamic, and it can handle everything from there. Okay, so you may notice that there's this installer, and if you follow the docs, there's this installer file. The installer is optional. Setup guide or setup assistant may be a better term, but if we go to /installer.php, it's going to check your server and make sure you have the things you need. We recommend that you have at least 256 megabytes of RAM, and that's a setting. It'll run without it, especially kind of what we're going to do today. You need more RAM if you're going to do stuff like manipulate images on the fly, resize them, stuff like that. That requires just more memory. Or if you have a really big site, compiling the cache, you probably need some more RAM. But it's compatible, so we can move on. You can put your license key in here, or you can continue on in trial mode. I like to set my URL to be just / so it's portable, like it doesn't have the the domain or the local, the domain and protocol in it. Debug mode on is good for dev, but I'm gonna stop this. I'm not gonna go through the installer. I want you to know what this is actually doing. So what we want to do, we'll just delete the installer. You can, if you don't plan on running tests, you can delete the PHP unit, the git ignore, nginxconf. We can delete these if we're not using those. Git ignore, if you're not gonna, that's for Git. If you're not using Git to version control your site, boom, you can kill that. Your env, your .env file, this is a sample. If you rename this to .env, you can set variables here, anything you want, like oh hi equals on or true or whatever, and you can keep these files outside your application, ignore them from your version control, and have kind of unique settings per environment in here. And you can use this for settings and that kind of stuff. Anyway, generally leave it in dev when you're on dev, and then on your live site, you put it to production. This is optional, so we'll just move on. All right, we're still running, and we have this demo site, this demo Redwood, which is kind of the pre-built site you can poke around and explore. So let's do that before we blow it all away and make our own site. Inside your site directory is where all of your content's going to go. So your content, for example, goes into content, and collections are things like blogs and news posts and photo galleries. Each collection is a bunch of files that each create a post or an entry on your site. That's all they are. Pages, pages are like a hierarchy. So you can have pages and subpages, and so you'd have like files inside of files, and that lets you create kind of like the sections of your site. Globals are variables that can be reused throughout your site. So you can make up a global like show footer and make it true, or like, turn sale on, or, Black Friday, sail true and then turn it off. You know, that kind of stuff. It's all up to you. Like Statamic is very flexible and you can do whatever you want with it. But more on that later. So let's take a look. What I did last summer, this is a blog post. It's inside the blog. And this is the slug. And so your slug of every file is going to be what you'll see in your file name. So come in here, blog, what I did last summer. And this is what's being loaded. All right. So if we wanted to change the title, what I did last spring, just save that, refresh. What I did last spring. You can change, you know, the date of the post. So, you know, 2018, you know, 12, let's say the 10th. What I did last, let's call it fall. Go back to the index. What I did last fall. There you go. Date's updated. Okay, so that's kind of how things work, but it doesn't show you how to build them. So let's do that. Let's nuke all this sample content. So I'll just get rid of all of it. There's a theme. We'll just get rid of that. And when we come back here, you should see like an error because there's nothing. That's okay. All right, we'll come back to our content and we'll create pages. We'll make this index page, title, home, and we'll just leave it at that. All right, whenever you save it, each file gets an ID so that we know that it's unique. And we'll make a theme now. So a theme's going to be, we'll call it demo. So everything inside that demo folder becomes your theme. And you need a layout file, and the default one is called default.html. HTML, what is this? Doc type. What's the shortcut for? There we go. Demo Statamic site. Okay, and collections, we'll make a blog, and we'll make a post for today, 2018, 12, 10. Hello, internet. Refresh that. And what else? I'm trying to think what is necessarily required here. Oh, so we're seeing this error because there are settings that are assuming they're pointed to something that doesn't exist. So in this one, it's going to be routes. There's all these routes from the previous demo site. Let's clear those out. There we go. That's what we expect. All right, then let's go into the control panel. And to go into the control panel, you need a user. So we'll make a user called admin and set an email address at admin.admin. Password is password and super is true. Super is access everything, super admin. If we save this, we go to /cp. We'll watch the password get hashed, and now this is a one-way hash. You need it's basically the same as what you'd find in a database, so it's perfectly safe and secure. You can even have this in a public Git repo, and you can't crack it back the other way. So we'll go to admin and password. Not now. Clear that out. And this is basically the control panel. Now, there's a couple things that were assumed in that previous site. We'll turn these widgets off. This should be empty. Bounce us to the next section, pages. We have our home page, right? So this is kind of a raw Statamic site. Now, there's a control panel or a command line command called clear site. It does all that for you. I really recommend using it, but if you're scared of the control panel, this is kind of the steps you would take to kind of blow away the demo stuff and start with your own clean site. All right. Next, let us make, let's get that homepage to show up in our theme. So we also need to set the name of our theme. We'll come down to theming, demo. That's looking inside that themes directory for the names of the directories. Yep. And if we go back to the front end of the site. We can't find your template file, so we're showing this page instead. All right, next we need to make a template. Templates, default.html. There we go. Layout default doesn't exist. This should be layouts. Great. Okay, so now let's talk about layouts and templates real quick. Let me close everything that doesn't matter right now. Generally speaking, every Statamic site has one or at least one layout file, and it usually contains all the stuff in your HTML head, your body, maybe your footer, your navigation, all of the things, all of the parts of your HTML that are loaded every single time and every single page you can put in your layout file. And then everything else gets rendered where it says template content. Okay? So once you set this for the first time, if you don't need to change anything else, like maybe we'll put, well, I'll just put like nav and home, right? So you could do something like that. We'll refresh, we have a home, and then anything in your template, which in this case is the default template being loaded, will show here. Okay, this is an ugly site. So let's grab a little style. We'll go to Tailwind CSS, and we will grab their, for quick demo, we'll grab this CDN build. Reload, we've got really basic style, and then we can do stuff like background blue, padding 2, and flex, item center, and class, let's do text large, no underline. All right, we've got a little nav bar, text white, justify center. We'll add a bottom margin. And there we go. So now we can maybe add a container here, give it a max width of large, we'll center it, and we'll put our template content inside that. All right, so if I were to set this black, you can see the shape that we're working with, and this will be what each page will load. All right, so now we can close this, boom, and work in this area. All right, next, let's make a unique homepage template. No, we'll duplicate this page, or template, sorry. Home. This is the home page. Yeah, we'll just do that. Okay, we'll go back to our content, to our pages, to our index page, and we'll tell it to use template home. Okay? Are you following so far? If we come back to our home page, you can see like we could use the title tag for this title variable here. And refresh home, call it the home page. The home, is that what I wrote? There we go, cool. Next, let's build a blog. All right, so I created a collection here by files. Let me actually delete that, and we'll do it in the control panel to show you how that works. So come down to configure, go to your content where you can manage your collections, right here, collections, create a new one, we'll call it blog. The handle is what you'll refer to it in your template, so we'll call it blog. We'll make it date-based. Oh, we still have all the field sets from before, so let's nuke those. And that is in settings, field sets. We'll just delete all of these. Yeah. Okay. We'll make a new one called blog. We'll use the default template and we'll just save that. Okay. Template, blog, yep, all good. Now we can create blog entries and let's see, hello internet. This is the blog post content. Save that and it should now show here. And on our home page, let's just loop through the blog posts and show them. So let's see, maybe we'll just add like a horizontal line and then we'll do an H2 and say the blog and make sure that's loading. The HR didn't show. Let's see, let's just call the home page like a blog index, yeah? H1, H1. Welcome to my blog. And then down here, let's write what we'd want a blog post to look like, or in a list, right? So we'll have a link and the title, blog post title, and then maybe underneath that, let's do flex item center. Text small, text gray. 10, 2018. And then the title. And yeah, let's see what that looks like. Cool, we'll do like width 1/4, or just we'll add some right margin. And here we'll make the font size bigger, text large. I already made it large by default. Extra large, no underline, text blue, hover text, I don't know, purple. Cool. I'll add some bottom margin, and now we have a blog index. So let's just hook this up. Collection, blog, collection, blog. Okay, so this is going to loop through all of the entries in our blog collection, and then we'll just replace these with the variables like date, title, and URL. Done. December 10th. Hello, Internet. And we have not established the URL pattern yet. So if we go to our settings, down to our routes, we can write a route here. Or you can do that in your settings, routes file here. All right. I'll just write it here. So collections, blog, and the pattern will be, let's just make a really simple blog where it's slug. All right. Now we have hello internet. It's going to load the default template. And let's say H1 is the title, and then we put the content here. H2, class text small, date. All right, let's see what happens. Boom. Not the prettiest blog ever, but it's a functional blog. Add some bottom, text small, text gray, margin bottom. Yeah. Looks good. It doesn't actually, but it's working, right? So if we came in, all right, let's go back to the homepage. If we went to the blog and we added another entry, more blog posts, and grab some like lorem ipsum content, put that down here, and we change the date to like a week before. We just save, refresh. Now we have more blog posts, so we can go back to the home page and say, you know, this really should have some bottom margin. More blog posts. There we go. So we just built a blog. It was pretty quick. There's a lot of other things you can do in Statamic, obviously, but that is getting it running 101. Now, I did say I would show you multiple ways to install it, so let's just do that real quick. We'll close all this down, and we'll stop MAMP. If you have Valet, Laravel Valet, this is my preferred method if you're okay with a little bit of command line action. Laravel Valet is a dev environment that automatically sets up unique hosts for every domain, and they are all in a folder. So you have like a sites folder, and each folder is a different site. Okay, so if you follow the installation here, which is right here, you go to laravel.com, go to the Valet section of the docs, you install it with Composer Global Require Valet, and it just look like this. So assuming you have PHP installed, you would open your command line, you would run this and install it, then you come through, like just follow these documentation. If Valet is running, you now could take this Statamic site, and we'll just rename this whole directory demo site, drop it in your sites directory, and then go to demosite.test. Bam, already done. Duplicate a site. More demo. More demo. And now you have two sites. To cd more demo. If you do PHP, please clear site. We can do all of that stuff we did in that first video in like 2 seconds. Hopefully this helps get a better understanding of how the pieces of Statamic work together, and that you'll find it useful. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Let me know. I'll re-record, make the video better if it is not useful enough for you. So happy coding.